Okay. Hello, guys. Welcome. Come in. Come in. Happy Wednesday night. Anthony, I almost said happy Thursday night. You ever have one of those days?
Oh, every day is one of those days for me. If I know what day it is, it's a good thing. It's a rare occasion too. Every day is
Well,
so busy. So.
but you're a school board member. So Anthony Graves is a great school board member in Stanley County, which is on the outskirts of Charlotte. That's Albemarle, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just east about 20 miles east of Charlotte. So very convenient. It's sort of the last safe place around the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. It's a beautiful area of Lake Tillery, Baden Lake, of the Uwharrie Mountains. You have, all this incredible beauty and excellent quality of life, but you're close to the city, you're close to the airport, you're, close to Asheville, close to the beach. Don't tell anybody.
Well,
a lot of people are moving to Stanley County. Yeah, I know. I know you were. Yeah, and you were in right in the heart of the county too. So out in Oakboro, and that's a beautiful location too. A lot of hills and very nice. So yeah, that was great.
We had a great event, very well attended, a couple of weeks before the mega event. But before we bring Meghan in, we had an event this Saturday. It was, the brain trust that was in that room, was it not freaking incredible?
Yeah, I took 14 pages of notes. I was excited before I got there. I had no idea. We talked about doing something together to bring those people back, because these are the national leaders, along with yourself, and Ed First NC is really leading the way. I don't know of any other organization in the country that's doing what you guys are doing to bring awareness around SEL and CRT. I mean, real information, not, just not a lot of fake news, but real news that people should be concerned about. But beyond that, helping people, how do you deal with this, right? And giving people guidance and letting people know that this is a national problem. But we obviously have to deal with it at the state level and local level. So it was excellent. It was probably one of the best conferences I've ever attended of any kind. So it was really cool.
Thank you.
I'm glad you guys did it.
Well, thank you for that. So if you're just tuning in, we had James Lindsay, we had Max Eden from American Enterprise Institute, we had the great Wade Miller from Citizens for Renewing America, and we also had Congressman Dan Bishop. We had John Torbett, who leads the way. He's actually the House in the North Carolina State House. He's the House chair of the Education Committee. I thought we had a great conversation. The great Senator Ralph Heiss. And I say the great Senator Ralph Heiss because, as I explained to you guys on Saturday, social emotional learning and grooming is an enormous problem. And so in 2019, he had the vision before this became a problem, before it was even on the map for our state. He crafted a bill that would have kept this crap out of the classroom.
Yep, that's true.
Oh, Julissa. You did a 4-hour drive. So Julissa jumped her. She's running in Cumberland County for school board. We've got just a school board cornucopia here. We've got Meghan. I'm bringing Meghan on now. Meghan is running in Stanley County. And we just endorsed both of you guys because you're running for re-election. We got to keep you on there. But Meghan, tell us what made you jump into this school board race? I mean, was there a breaking point? I mean, what happened for you?
It was basically back in August, after we had gone all summer without the masking. And I mean, we were going to church, we were going to the grocery stores. I mean, we were not wearing the mask, and all of a sudden, we got a mask back up for our kids back in August. So when that happened, me and a few other moms kind of put our foot down, and we said no more. These are our kids. We are supposed to be the ones to make these types of decisions, and that kind of started it. And once the masking lifted in October, I started to see the issues in curriculum, and I started to see the things that my kids were behind on because of, virtual learning and quarantines and so forth. So it was pretty frustrating as a parent to have two boys in the school system. And honestly, we're still playing catch up. So I had to do something with my complaining, and this was the only thing I knew to do.
Well, so Anthony, I mean, you were on the school board and Meghan was going up there. How big of a pain in the ass was Meghan?
Well, let me tell you, she had a lot of company. So she was, I would say this, everyone was rightfully concerned and frustrated, because the reality is that, and everyone talks about this nationally, the lost learning that happened over the last 2 years is, I mean, this is a crisis nobody wants to talk about. And unfortunately, adding insult to injury, the state, as you well know, and for anyone that's ever watched any of our school board meetings, and you can do that on YouTube and Stanley TV channel, go back and watch Stanley, which is Stanly County. You can go back and watch our school board meetings, starting off with the one that Meghan first attended and in September. And what people don't realize is that the governor, and this is why elections matter. Elections, your vote has consequences, or people that sit at home and don't vote, that inaction has consequences. Roy Cooper, assuming the vote wasn't stolen, he's the governor, and so he appoints people, and they make decisions that impact every single person in the state, including children. And what they did was something pretty nefarious, which was, when they did not renew the mask mandate in the state, everyone's like, great, hey, nobody has to wear a mask. This is excellent. But what people didn't realize was that when they modified the toolkit, which is a set of recommendations, when they modified the toolkit, they modified it in a way that when you didn't have to wear masks, kids did not have to wear a mask. But if you didn't, then you were essentially going to quarantine the entire school district. And that is the shrewd trick that the governor played. I said it that first night. We had at Stanley County, the school board had a workshop that morning. We reviewed a resolution, and this is all public. We reviewed and approved. We were all in agreement. We were going to vote on a resolution that first night to make the mask optional. And when we found out that the governor, what they did was they eliminated remote learning. So, and this is what people don't understand. Remote learning wasn't a big deal because kids could stay at home if their parents said, well, we don't want our children to go to school if kids aren't wearing masks. It's that the resources that were made available because of remote learning were no longer going to be available.
Okay.
So unless the county, on their own dime, the taxpayers were going to fund this massive spin up of resources to support the kids that were going to get quarantined. Now, it wasn't just the fact that kids would get quarantined. They were going to get quarantined into a situation they didn't have the prior year. They were going to get quarantined essentially into this state of oblivion where there weren't going to be the same resources and instruction they had under remote, which we know wasn't good anyway. I mean, it was the best the school systems could do. It was not ideal. This would have been worse. And so the governor put the school boards in that position. And at that moment in time, all the school boards should have come together and said, absolutely not. This is unacceptable. But they didn't. And so parents like Meghan and all of her friends and my friends that had kids, half of the folks that were there that night were my friends. Before the meeting, I told my wife I didn't even want to go. I was sick with my stomach because I knew we were going to have to do this. And then to even add more insult to injury, we had initially agreed that we would do everything we can to pull the mask off. And I put together a couple resolutions to do that. And unfortunately, by that time, there was so much anger and misinformation and pressure from the health departments and things like that it was an ugly time. And I'm glad we got past it, but we can never let that happen again. It was insane. So,
So what happens, guys, is that, and I say this a lot when I'm talking, is that if you ask your rank and file Democrat who's politically active where the control of schools lie, local schools like Stanley County, they'll tell you right away, the state. Since we're new to reform here in the Republican Party, you'll hear answers like the school board. You hear that a lot. You'll hear answers like the governor, closer, right? You're going to hear a lot of different things, but I'm telling you, the schools are being hemmed in at the state level largely. We need to know this because we're going to elect the most conservative school boards across the state this state has seen in a long time. And we have got to have everybody set up for success. The last thing I want, Meghan, is for you to come onto the school board, and Anthony, you stay onto the school board, which you had your hair in 2020, right?
I wish I did. No, I lost it long before that.
But
it was starting to grow back, but then now it's gone forever, I think.
See, yeah. So the point is, we need to be successful. We need the right action at the right time, and that is why, let's take care of these things from the state. The state should not be controlling the schools. That is a local issue. In fact, most of the budget, this, to run schools, it comes from the local level, right? But the feds have a lot of control, and we elected people like Catherine Jewett and others to stand as a firewall between DC and the classroom. That ain't happening, right? And then you get what you have here is this almost Sophie's choice of okay, we're going to open the schools, sure, and now you're going to be screwed because you're going to have the masks. And it does, and I've said this for a while, it creates all this unnecessary acrimony at the school board meetings when people, but it's because, Anthony, you know this, because people do not know where to put the blame.
100%. Listen, I understood why people were upset. And I think if I didn't have a good relationship with people in the community before this happened, I think I did afterwards because I was trying to help the board understand a lot of people were upset. And so a lot of board members were taking the attacks personally. Unfortunately, their reactions earned them some legitimate personal criticism afterwards because people get defensive. But the reality is that people were frustrated at the federal government, at the state government, and at the local government. And of course, it's the easiest thing to do. I had even suggested, and Meghan was there that night. I said, look, after we do this, we all need to get on buses with the county commissioners and go to Raleigh because this is where it's going to have to get fixed.
Bingo.
And now, there's things that we could do. There's some things that some school boards did do. We talked about this at the conference. Many of your guests did, about the real practical limitations. There's always a time to fight, and there's also a way to fight to be effective. Fighting if you're going to lose, there's no point. You need to be strategic about it. But one of the things that happened was because it's not just a state problem, it's a federal problem. And you've pointed this out many times. With the money that comes from the federal government, the state government, strings are attached. And a lot of people don't know it. This is one of the things that I think the parents in Stanley County are probably better informed than most other counties because they unified and started sharing information and got behind the grants and delving into what strings were going to be attached for us. And it's not just Stanley County, it's the counties all across North Carolina. That's why one of the things I know you're going to promote is banding together. I know we could talk about that later. But the problem that we have right now, we have to get the state government to take seriously this lost learning. But I don't want us to get distracted on that because that's a serious issue and this is a national issue. But this issue around SEL and CRT is real. And there's so much misinformation out there. People are saying, well, people are overreacting. And the reality is that they may be reacting strongly, but they may be not reacting strongly enough. If they knew just how bad it was and what the potential is, yeah, this is absolutely right.
Vance is running.
Yeah.
Vance here Vance is in, I believe, Buncombe County. Vance, will you type either Henderson or Buncombe County? Yeah. And people need Allison. Yes, charters have it too, because look, when you take money, right, they're going to have Henderson. Okay. When you take money, you're going to have to take SEL. So here's what I want to tell you. I'm going to show you on the DPI's website what SEL is, so that we're all in understanding, and understand this. It is in all 12 academic subjects by law. Well, a law which underpins the policy, etc. Megan, this is what you and I talked about when I came to Stanley County, is that I showed you guys this, and it's here. And the question is, how do we get out of it? We do have ways to get out of it.
Right.
So let's just show this.
Let's
see. Yeah, and by the way, it's priority number one. It has to happen. So let's see if I can do this. So let's take a look at, whoopsie. Okay, I got to do this again. Hang on. So Megan, you know, when I showed you all the surveys, etc., I mean, you know full well that SEL is happening. Have you guys seen? What are you seeing on my screen? Are you seeing a whole bunch of stuff, or just?
We can see it.
All right, you can see what I'm saying. Okay.
I see one frame.
All right. Okay. Which frame? Okay,
Yeah.
so I need to stop on the SEL's website. Hold on. Okay. Because I've got a bunch of
trying to get it together last
night. Hold on. Liberty.
Yeah, that was the video. This. Yeah, there it is.
Okay. So we're going to play this. It's not going to help improve science or math. So the first thing is integrate personal and social identities. I'm going to show you what that is in a minute. In fact, put a pin on that in number one. Examine prejudice and bias. We know what that means. That's critical race theory. Set and achieve collective goals. In the United States of America, we are built on rugged individualism. In fact, we value the rights of one, right? That's why we're so unique. That's why our system of governance is so unique, right? It's the individual liberties. It's not collective liberties. But look at this. Very Marxist. Number 3, demonstrate collective agency. Again, very Marxist. We're going to talk about what collective agency means, right? I'll give you a hint. It's you're black, you're white, you're gay, you're straight, you're Christian, you're Muslim. Yeah, okay. Understand the influence of oppression on behavior. That's critical race theory. Who do you think is the oppression geared towards, and who's the oppressor? Angie, if you had to take a guess.
Normally the white people are the oppressors.
Don't be afraid to say white people on this show.
Okay.
Right? Not a bad thing.
Okay, so you see
this, guys. I'm just going to go through this, put this on pause. So stand up for the rights of others, some others, right? I guarantee if you voted for Donald J. Trump, not for your rights. If you were a January 6th, not your rights. You can guarantee that. If you're a white Christian male, it ain't your rights either. We know that. Let's see. Act according to collective goals. Remember, guys, collective goals as directed by the government, not your household, the government, and promote CRT. Collect baseline data is also in there. Again, I want to underscore, this is on the DPI's website. Teachers are teachers, principals, and superintendents. All these three, by the way, they go around you guys, Anthony. They go around the school board. Right. They meaning the DPI. They go around the DPI and do all this stuff. Okay. So that even if you wanted to mandate something, you couldn't, because it's evaluated on that. So understand that this is absolutely from the state down. You're going to have, and this drives me nuts, you're going to have Catherine Truitt say, rather than punishing kids, we're going to do SEL, everything I just showed you. Now, we talk a lot about teacher retention, or we do at the state level. I mean, if you cannot keep a class, Megan, if you're not allowing teacher to keep things under control in their classroom, how are we going to keep good teachers? Because I haven't figured out a way.
Right. That's actually, and before I start, is my internet connection still going in and out? Because I was dealing with some issues connecting just a little bit ago.
You're just
Can you hear
fine
me
now.
okay?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, good. That's actually something that I've seen just talking to some of the teachers in the classroom and dealing with the discipline. They're almost scared to discipline. I have yet to figure out, how they can work around that, how they can kind of come together. But honestly, I think it boils down to just leadership and having something structured. So, just because, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. Sometimes I feel like some teachers, because, kids are separated by color, sometimes they're almost afraid to discipline because they would be a white teacher and they would possibly get in trouble. So I can kind of see that angle as well.
So Meghan, what you're talking about is something called the Ferguson effect. And let me explain that to everyone. After Ferguson happened about 4 years ago now, and there were riots, etc., police all across the country had that same feeling where they were afraid to even it doesn't matter. Black officers were also afraid to apprehend someone based on their skin color. But you saw the crime explode. So what we're seeing is the Ferguson effect inside of classrooms, and it is absolutely very real. You are on the outskirts of Charlotte, and so you've got to stand ready to keep order, because as you know, with urban sprawl, right, you get a lot of folks that move out and want to take their policies with them, Meghan. So
right.
At the board level, and Anthony, I'm sure you know this, there is a 2025 mandate that the unelected whack jobs at the state school board, we've got 4 good ones, the rest of them are nuts. They have a 2025 plan, and that plan outright says white students and black students must be equal in discipline.
Yeah, well, and what you're talking about is this whole concept around what they call school to prison pipeline. And your guest in the mega conference did a phenomenal job. I know when you post this and people watch it, it's like a mini college crash course on the subject. But essentially what happened is the federal government got together and they said, they looked at the students, the prison population, and they tried to go back, and they didn't do this across the entire country, but they did a small sampling, and they said, okay, well, if we go back and look, the students, or these students that were suspended ended up in prison. And they tried to say that was the cause of people ending up in prison, which is absolutely not the case. If you get in trouble, you get suspended. Now, and the guest there, the experts say, look, there's absolutely no question. Yeah, that exactly. Max was talking about it.
But I want to tell everybody what background he has. Max Eden wrote the best-selling book, Why Meadow Died. Yeah. And he dissected over a period of years what happened with the Parkland shooting. So this guy is a top-notch expert, Anthony.
He is the expert.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And so, because what you've seen is the impact of where the federal government, this is where federal dollars get tied in, and people say, well, they just don't take the money. That's fine. But if you're a taxpayer, you better get aligned with your county commissioners, because somebody's paying for it, okay? And that's why, and believe me, the state, unfortunately, funds enough, and the federal government funds enough today that you just can't walk away from the money without taking them to court, period, the lawsuits. But here's the thing. What they said is that you cannot suspend these kids. And I know you've spoken about this and given specific examples of what they're supposed to do instead of suspending kids. Well, the cumulative effect is this: discipline in the classroom, because it doesn't matter. It's not a color thing. If one kid gets away with something, all the kids are going to get away with it. It creates an environment where discipline goes out the window. Teachers can't teach, and it's gone beyond the fact that they can't teach, and it's having a negative impact on student learning. It is that violence is coming into the classroom. Teachers are being threatened, assaulted, verbally abused, and the students are still not held accountable. The parents, and because this is an issue, and it is across the board. Parents they get called into the school, they act like their kid's an angel, and all of a sudden, here's what happens. Teachers get out of the business. Educators get out of the business. And now they're telling their family and friends, oh, you're going to go to school, you're going to become a teacher, don't do it.
Oh,
Here's why. And if we're going to fix this problem, discipline has to be reintroduced, and fair discipline has to be reintroduced, or all this other stuff we're talking about is pointless, because we won't have to worry about SEL in the public schools. There won't be public schools, period. And maybe that a cynical person would say maybe that's why they're letting this happen, because they want the schools to completely fail so the federal government can come in and say, now we have to take over. But that's another topic.
I've never heard it explained as concisely as you've just explained it. So discipline is a bedrock. Of course, if you cannot have order, you can't have learning. You can't. We don't want San Quentin or Chicago inside of the schoolrooms, and that's sadly exactly what we have.
Let me give you one example. In Ferguson, the rioting was excused by the leadership in the federal government and the mainstream media. It was excused. They were literally saying, reporters were saying that rioting was not happening while buildings were burning behind them. Everybody saw it. So now let me ask you this. If they're going to excuse rioting, what do you think they're going to do to a kid cussing out a teacher? What if a kid assaulting another kid? Are you kidding me?
They're hiding it.
Well, it's like they're like, go away. Don't even tell it, because they know their system has failed. They don't want it exposed. This is what's happening right now. And people need to wake up. They've got to wake up. Everybody says it's all about the kids and the kids are our future. Prove it. Meghan has, and her friends and parents. But the sad part is this. And Sloan, I was out of town when you came and spoke in Oakboro, and I heard all about it. It was awesome. But here's the problem. If there were 80 people there should have been 180. There should.
Yeah.
The reality is that, and this is the sad truth, and Meghan knows this. Meghan will tell you we had standing room only in September and October and November. Those masks came off. We have 10 people from the community that come to the meetings.
Oh,
10.
It takes so much effort to rally parents to actually do something. I know at one time in October, we actually had, this is when we were actually locked out. We're not able to enter to the school board meeting, so we all had to stand outside. And there was roughly about 80 people to start with. And then it started to dwindle down. And that's probably the most people we've ever had at any given school board school board meeting. And that's the most frustrating part, is because, all these issues are happening, but the parents just want the people that are vocal to do the hard work. And, Anthony's right, though. We should have had that building packed out when you came to Oakboro. But we didn't. And, parents need to step up because this is their child. I'm doing this for my kids, and ultimately it's going to leak over into helping your kids too. But parents need to understand that we need help and their voice matters.
And Sloan, are we going to cut off at a certain time or something? Because I did want to share something with you that I know you're.
We are, but we're good on time.
Okay, let me, I don't want us to miss this. So we talk about SEL, and at the event, the mega event, I think it needs to be like every 6 months. I don't want to wait a year for another one. It was too awesome.
That was like putting together a wedding and a bar mitzvah all in one for me. I'm still,
okay. All right. Well, maybe
but
once
this time, Anthony, you're going to help, right?
Yeah,
you're
absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that came up was in North Carolina, and this is important for parents and folks to understand, all of the school systems were required to pass an SEL plan. Mm-hmm. Now, the state, because they are wonderful, they provided a blueprint for an SEL plan, and every school system had to adopt one. That means that the board had to adopt one. Our school system is fortunate because we do have some really good people, but as hard as they work, and we in our school system adopted the baseline, but there were even some problems. As a matter of fact, Meghan pointed one out early on, and we won't go into that, but the point was, if you go through, and you can go to Stanley County's website, and this is a North Carolina document, so if you read it there, you're gonna it applies to at least all the other counties. You could go through and look at the program, and it has links to references and things like that. And so at least in Stanley County, there's transparency. But the problem is that the people in the central office, the ones that don't want to push this, it's being pushed on them by the state. I'll give you an example. Last night, we had to we had to vote on an AIG plan. So unless this is academically and intellectually gifted. Whoops, you can't see it. Anyway, so every school system, like with an SEL plan, has to adopt an AIG plan. Well, we got the AIG plan. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, oh, this is great. What could possibly be controversial about the AIG plan, right? This is about AP classes and all these different programs that we give gifted, academically and intellectually gifted students. So I'm looking through, and on page 46 of 61, I'm going to read this to you. It's right here. And I was just looking through, minding my own business. Standard 6, program accountability. How is the program going to be measured? Program accountability. And look, I just gotten it 3 minutes before. I'm just skimming through it. I look at this page. The LEA, which is the local education agency, that's us. If you're in law enforcement, that's also LEA. The LEA implements, monitors, and evaluates the local AIG program, okay, this program, in accordance with state legislation and SBE policy, and then it gives the general statute, so everybody knows, which has been approved, which has been approved by the local board of education, but they evaluate the local AIG program to plan and ensure that all programs and services are effective in meeting the diverse academic, okay, maybe that's languages, maybe it's math, maybe it's science, okay, whatever, intellectual, all right, social, and emotional needs of gifted learners. And I made a mini little sermon last night, and I'm like, this is what's interesting. If you go look at SEL, the definition on the internet is that it's attributed back to Plato when he wrote the Republic. And it was about a comprehensive, a holistic education that included physical education as well as intellectual and moral, not social and emotional. That's handled in the home. That is learned in the home. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people that need help because they come from tough environments.
That's not the government's job.
But the government's job is not to it's like they take the lowest, the most struggling kids, and they implement a plan across all kids. Now, look, this is intentional. And when I saw this, I'm like, this is crazy. This did not exist before. This is new. Okay.
Well, Anthony, we reported on this. And I want to be very honest about what happened. So we reported on this May 31st of 2001, that because they were going to do, it is going to be based not on merit, but on skin color. So merit went out the door. I want you to know this. June 3rd, out of Catherine Truitt's office came a letter that was sent to every single GOP office in the state. It was sent to every General Assembly member, and it called us liars, sensationalists, etc., for publishing that article about what you said. We were called everything. We were called hacks, fake journalists, and again, liars.
Right.
For reporting that. That came from Jamie Falkenberry, the right-hand man of Catherine Truitt. So Catherine Truitt's office did not want us to tell you May 31st, that was a Memorial Day weekend of 2021, what you just read to me.
Yep.
So DPI is doing it, my friends. DPI is doing it. You have the evidence.
Yeah, no, right here. And I could not. And by the way, here's the other thing too. Honest to God, I just flipped to this. I just flipped to it. Standard 3, differentiated curriculum instruction. The LEA employs challenging, rigorous, and relevant curriculum instruction to accommodate a range of academic, intellectual, social, and emotional needs of K-12 gifted learners. Here's the problem. AIG is this is not going for mental health treatment. As your guest on Saturday pointed out, one of the things that the state of at least North Carolina is trying to do, as if the teachers didn't already have enough to do trying to teach in classrooms with a lack of discipline, now they're asking them to be mental health professionals, unlicensed mental health professionals. Look,
and not held liable as of last year.
So forget the reading. The reading's gone out the door. So I want to show everyone this so that we can all get on the same page. And so you're going to see exactly what we're talking about. How come this is getting smaller? Whoops.
No, I can see it.
That's crazy. Hold on. Okay. Is this better? Just so we're
great.
very clear. Okay. So let's look at this together. This is the criterion you're talking about for admittance into the program. Teachers and evaluators reframe your lens, baby, when you're talking about letting people in. By the way, there's a minuscule amount of budget that's going, and what they're doing is they're only funding 4.5% of the school population. That's all you have money for. And they want 20% of the students to be in there. What does that mean? That means you ain't got no program anymore, exactly as we reported. Exactly. Here we go. Action 2. Equitable identification practices. Ding, ding, ding. We knew that. That means by color. 3, provide a range of services within the program. That is SEL and mental health, as you just elucidated for us. Number 4, foster talent development, whatever the hell that is. Collect meaningful data. Another excuse to collect data.
Surveys.
Okay. This is what we reported on. This is what's happening. And this is absolutely what the DPI does not want you to know.
There's something that you're 1,000% right. And so we had a situation last night that I brought to the attention of the public and the school administration too, because a lot of times people think that this is a superintendent and his staff. As you noted earlier, a lot of times stuff happens they don't even know about.
Correct.
And I mean, it's impossible to know everything as much as we would love for them to know, and accountability is critical. But here's an example. I get a call from a couple of parents last week. They said, my child was given this survey and it had, let's say, inappropriate questions on it. Now, it wasn't that the questions were outrageous. It was like, but why are they being asked these questions? So I went and checked and I said, it was my understanding the board made it very clear. We already made it clear. Every survey would be opt-in. Parents would review it and opt in. Clearly, people have not gotten the picture. So in the policy committee, And earlier, if people go back and watch your video, you talk about the laws, policies, and rules. You have to pay attention to all three. In order for the school board to hold people accountable, instead of just saying, hey, don't do it, and bad if you do it, it's that you can hold people accountable. And the only way you do that is put it in policy. So I said last night, and our school board's going to do this. And I have to give the school board credit. I mean, they're frustrated about this too, because they don't want the phone calls. No. We thought we took care of this. And we can do this in the school board. So whether the state does it or not, the policies of Stanley County School will be, we can say any survey that is administered to a child in Stanley County schools, it must be opt-in by the parent. And in addition to that, and we talked about this after the conference on Saturday, who is generating the survey? Where is the data being stored? Who has access to the data? How long is the data being sold? How long is the data around before it's destroyed? And how does the school board have proof it's being destroyed? None of this happens today.
So,
go ahead.
But Anthony, I want to point this out. And Megan, I want you to know that, I mean, my job is to make sure that you can do your job. That's the way that we see ourselves here. So let's take, for example, Pitt County. Pitt County has, I believe, at least 2 rock rib, not going to happen on my watch, conservatives, and maybe a couple more. Here's what happened to them. This is really going to burn your butt up. This is 1.5 years ago, or around a year, well, maybe a year ago. So they said, the school board said, hey, we want to review this survey that the state is giving these students. We want to review it first. They reviewed it and they said, okay, these 4 questions, they're not good.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
The state, whoever, superintendent said, fine, we want to ask those. Well, guess what? The state, because it comes in through Power School on the iPads of all of these students, asked the questions anyway. Parents raised hell. There was all kinds of grief. Again, this is another example of the state usurping the role of the school board, and we must not have that. Megan, what do you think about that?
Here's what. Yeah, so all we got to do until we can get this through to legislation's head is do what I'm doing as a parent. I have instructed my boys that they are not to take any kind of survey whatsoever through the school system. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I have told them some of the questions. I have showed them if you get to an assignment, because they have SEL on Wednesdays with guidance. If you get in front of your Chromebook and you pull it up and all of a sudden you start seeing a list of questions and you have to fill in a bubble or you have to answer something, you tell the teacher immediately that your mother said that you were not to do it. And it has worked so far. And that's an easy fix that we could do right now. And you just absolutely refuse to allow your child to take that.
That's a good point. And Megan's, the folks that Megan has been working with, the parents, I have gotten that feedback as well. We have heard that parents are saying, do not take the survey. Don't take the survey. And if it's that big of a deal, then the superintendent can get involved. And a lot of times that ends the debate too. So no, that's a really good, it's a great recommendation. At the end of the day,
and let me point out too.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Megan.
Let me point out too that a lot of the teachers get highly upset. I've had a teacher that has really got upset with my kids for saying, I'm sorry, but you got to call my mom. And I've told my kids, you know what? It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter if they get upset with you. I am your authority and you will do what I tell you to do.
So we've also had instances in Pitt County, another example as well. We've had instances, unfortunately, where principals, a father in particular, called the principal and said, listen, I don't want Susie taking this survey. No problem, Dad. That's fine. The next day, principal pulls Susie in the office and says, basically, strong arms her into taking the survey. So it begs the question, we have an idea, Anthony, of where the data is going. We're going to talk about that at another time. But is there some sort of quota, et cetera? Because you'd think that there is, right? I mean, if they're working so damn hard to go around school boards, and we need to get to the bottom of that. So surveys are assigned as homework. Students opted out by parents as well. It was an absolute cluster and showed the lack of accountability at the administrative. See, Vance, here's what I think. And we'll get to it. The advantage of EFA is we're investigative journalists. We'll get to the bottom of it. Yeah. We want to know, what's the incentive structure here? What's the motivation? Because I can tell you, if we find that out, then it will make sense why the state is mandating them, why we're being lied to about that, and why local bodies are being gone around, Anthony. I mean, right? Follow the money.
Well, another way that it happens, and this was brought to my attention, and really, I think the entire boards, and that is a lot of times when the school systems will pay third parties to do professional development, especially, and maybe they're like, oh, hey, everybody needs to be trained on this subject over here, basket weaving. Well, the company you hire, when they come in, all of a sudden they start teaching basket weaving through the lens of social emotional learning, and the administration, the central office, thinks they're doing God's work, and meanwhile it's slipping in. You have to be hyper vigilant, and so, like you say, the work that you guys are doing, it's indispensable, because it takes a whole team of people, or else we don't have a chance, because there's an army of people trying to work against the families and against our current way of life. It's a culture war, and we need people in our army to do the work, or we're not going to win.
Well, very true. So as we wrap this up, I want to underscore this, that what you're hearing from Meghan, who is a school board candidate and a mom, and you're hearing from Anthony, who is a sitting board member in a fairly conservative area, that it doesn't matter. We have to all work together. In other words, it's incumbent upon the parents to, as you pointed out, Meghan, teach your kid, hey, listen, there is stranger danger, right? And it's happening in your classroom and blah, blah, blah. Look for the surveys. Anthony, it's incumbent upon you see this now, to explain the role of the state, because that's really, really important. We've got to be firm but fair, right? We cannot be just, abusive to school board members when a lot of this is out of their control. And it's incumbent upon all of us. Listen, we're working so hard, everybody across the state. I mean, all 115 districts, to get new school board members. Voting for these school board members is the beginning of your journey, not the end. It's our job to inform Meghan and the Anthonys all over the state that, hey, I read this on the state website. Is this what they're doing? Or, hey, this happened in class, but whatever. And we need to take a conciliatory and a consultant approach, right?
And also judges, because that's something else that you guys pay attention.
That's right.
The courts, we've left out the courts, and it doesn't matter. And our guest, the representative and senator from North Carolina, said, hey, we can pass all the legislation we want, and the governor can sign it, and the courts can nullify everything that we're doing. And this Supreme Court, we lost the Supreme Court last time through some shenanigans. We cannot lose the Supreme Court, because anything that we do, if 6 counties, 10 counties get together and sue the state and we win, the Supreme Court can just wipe it right out.
And we're in the 4th district, which is worse than, or the 4th circuit, worse than the 9th circuit. So we let something go up on that. So just so you know, we're supporting April Wood, who is a judge already. She's the only one that has judicial experience. We're supporting her because of that, and because of her fidelity to education. That is a very central thing that we have to have. So we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Anthony, thank you. Megan, we're supporting you in your race.
Yeah, nice.
This is the beginning of our work together, the very beginning of our work together. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And again, we've got to be a multiplier effect. I want you to share this with 10 people tonight. People keep asking, what do I do? What do I do? That's what you do. You're a multiplier effect. Share this with 10 people tonight. You got to do that.
And good luck to Vance,
Right.
who was out there posting, and the other folks running too. So if you're paying attention to these videos, then you're probably you probably need to get on the school board.
So right quick, Megan, what's your campaign website? Shout it out.
Mhm.
Campaign
Meghan
website
Almond for
donation.
School Board.
Okay, spell it.
MEGHAN. And then my last name, just like Almond, ALMOND.
For school board. So Eric, look that up. We've got donors on the line. They want to give. Who are we to say no?
I'll tell you what, I don't need donations, but I do need
Yeah,
support.
and our PayPal is under our website as well, so we make it easy.
Okay.
And donate if you want to donate to me. Make your contributions to Ed First NC, please. I would appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for your support and prayers. And
thank you.
Hopefully we'll make it on the 17th.
There's no hope. We will.
Okay, I'm with you.
All right.
Awesome.
That's
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Sloan.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much,
it.
Sloan.
Take care.
Bye.
See you, Megan.